Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. When I was a teenager, I had a lot of difficulty with sleeping, and I would have difficulty waking up to go to school. My mom would come wake me up. Hey, wake up! It's time to go to school. I was going to college part time, and my mom would drive me to the college, going to high school part time and college part time. And I would ask for 5 more minutes. Now, in Chinese, the word five is pronounced "ooh." It's really fun to say, especially to put your hand up and go "ooh." I'd ask for 5 more minutes. And "ooh" was one of the first words my brother learned to say. He was 2 years old at the time, but he didn't really fully grasp what it meant. He thought it meant to snooze or procrastinate. And he started to use the word "ooh" in such a way as well. And that went on for a number of frustrating years. When I was 17 years old, I realized I actually didn't have trouble sleeping or waking up, and the way I discovered this was kind of interesting. We had gone into a spring break. It was about a week. When you add together the weekends, it was like 9 days basically, and I discovered something really interesting. If I allowed myself to sleep on whenever I wanted to, I have a tendency to sleep a little bit later every day. So let's say just before the break, I was going to sleep at 10 p.m., right? And I needed to go to school at whatever time. I often had trouble waking up. Well, spring break commenced, and I wouldn't have to say "ooh" because there would be nobody to wake me up, right? But I might wake up half hour later than when I normally would have needed to wake up. But that's fine. But that night, I wouldn't be tired until 11, 12 p.m. The difference is that I would actually crash when I actually went to sleep at whatever time my body wanted to, right? Instead of being forced to sleep, instead of being unhappy about it, instead of counting sheep, instead of taking a pill, I would actually collapse. And then the following morning, I would wake up well rested again. Now, everything benefited. I had more time during the day because I would wait until I would actually collapse to go to sleep. So I had more time in the day. I would collapse when I went to sleep. And I would wake up without having to shout, "ooh." So it was a triple benefit. Win, win, win. Where else in life can you get a win, win, win like that? Now, the problem is that at the end of that spring break, now I was going to bed at 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning, and waking up in time for dinner. And my mom drove me to school after I had stayed up all night, and I was fast asleep during the class. In fact, I slept not only through my class, but the next lecture as well. My mom came looking for me, and she found me in the classroom, and she was really upset. And she threatened to take away I was spending a lot of time on the computer at the time. I have a funny saga actually. I would lie about my age. I was using some kind of dating app, and I would lie about my age. I was born in 1987, but I would type 1978 so that if I got caught, oh, it was all a mistake. I didn't realize you have to be 18 to use this stuff, right? That was the punchline I was going to use in the event I ever got caught. I never did. I never met up with any of the people that I was chatting with anyway, but whatever the situation is, my mom was upset and threatened to take away the computer from my room. And she made me go apologize to my professor. My mom has a lot of respect for educators. I went to my professor, apologized, and after I finished the apology and I walked out of the room, I thought to myself, wait a minute. I mean, yeah, it's terrible that I fell asleep. It does look, I understand it looks embarrassing, but at the same time, that was the only week in my entire grown-up life that I got good sleep. And I was very upset. Because at the same time, yeah, I realized I shouldn't be sleeping in class. But that's the only time I ever got good sleep. And I'm thinking to myself, how can you expect me to study if I'm sleeping suboptimally, right? If I'm relying on melatonin to go to sleep, if I'm relying on really loud alarm clocks and shouting "ooh" at anybody who bothers me when I'm sleeping, how can you expect me to win the next Nobel Prize? Right? That's what I'm thinking. I didn't tell my professors any of this, but that's what I was thinking. Very, very frustrating. Now, it dawned on me, do we really need to have a synchronous society where everybody has to get up at whatever time, go to work and punch a clock at a certain time? Now that I'm all grown up and I'm teaching students who sometimes fall asleep in my class, I'm starting to think maybe there's a better way. You see, I'm not the only professor teaching Calculus 1, right? Let's imagine that within the city of Phoenix, there are you can probably research how many people are capable of teaching calculus 1 at a college level in the Phoenix area. I'll let you guys research that. It's a big number, probably. It's a big sea of people, right? It's big enough that I have to worry about my job security, let's put it that way. And how many students are there taking calculus 1 at any given day? Also a very big number, right? Well, if we all decided to show up whenever we wanted, I think you would still get a lot of good interaction. You might not get the same teacher every lecture, but you know what? You get a very well rested teacher at least. And for teachers, you would get students who don't fall asleep in your class, right? This would work even better if we had remote classes. Right now, you got the entire world to choose for, or at least per language, right? Uh, and you get very well rested instructors and students, right, who are ready to win the next Nobel Prize. Anyway, I invite you to think about this concept of an asynchronous society where, and also traffic would be a whole lot nicer in an asynchronous society. People would be incentivized to use the roads at a time where it's less congested, right? And everything would be nicer. It'd be a lot easier to take the vacation days that you want to take off, right? Not to mention if you needed to take off for other reasons, right? Be a lot easier to do it, right? All right, just a thought out there. Um, I invite you to leave a comment on what you do for a living and what you think it might look like if we went to an asynchronous society, and pros and cons of that. I'll take a look at it. Maybe I'll address your comment in another video at some point. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.